You slightly more. There you go. Is it on?
I think it is.
Okay.
Well, good morning. It's a very long it's a very long time since we've posted. We are aware of that, and that's largely down to me because I had some issues with my mum that I had to go back to the UK for a couple of times, and that also meant that we ended up staying in our home base in Florida a lot longer than we planned. We should have actually been in Arizona right now, but unfortunately that plan went. We'd actually got a winter camp hosting job. But we did do a little bit of camp hosting in Florida in the Ocklawaha River State Park, which was lovely, and we will put up a video about that in the coming weeks or months. But to cut a long story short, and this is full disclosure, we were very seriously considering not posting any more videos, and it was nothing to do with anything, the fact that we just do not like being on camera. And the other thing, and I hope people understand this, is that you know, filming what we're doing sometimes ruins the experience of actually what you're doing. But we did do this because we're putting the videos up, rather, is because we wanted to catalogue our little adventure. And that brings us to the final thing, before we carry on, is that ironically, in the time we haven't posted, which is probably 4 or 5 months now, we've gained an awful lot of subscribers. So I'm not really sure what the message is. Maybe people are trying to tell us we'll subscribe if you don't do anything. But anyway, we have decided we are going to continue posting some videos, and if nothing else, just for ourselves, because I think we've said before, this is not a business or anything we're trying to do on YouTube. This is just simply trying to document our own adventure, and I guess just have a reason to actually edit it and post it. And if people enjoy it, then great, and if they don't, well, we're sorry, but you don't have to watch it. So there you go. So I'm going to pass over to Gina just to let you know what we're up to this year, and then we'll tell you a little bit about the town that we're in.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you and welcome to the new subscribers, but thank you to all of you who have been following this journey. We really appreciate you know, your comments. That means a lot to us. Okay, so I guess one of the things I feel like, you know, we should share is the journey started out as an adventure. And I think we kind of touched on this in a previous video, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but we do have to work now, and so that is really limiting the time that we can create videos for you. And we as Paul said, we're not comfortable at all being on camera, but we've decided what we'll do is the days that we go out and explore a nice area, we'll share those videos with you guys, you know, just to give you some ideas of some places that are off the beaten path is what we're kind of excited about doing. Everybody's kind of done the major places, and it's just not our thing. We're not into touristy places. No,
definitely not.
We like little places that maybe you don't know of, or you know, if you want something a little bit different. So that's what I think our channel is going to be about now, and we hope that you'll enjoy some of the places we share. So yeah, Paul can tell you where we're at now.
Well, I will, but before I do, are we going to share where we're actually headed to? Yes,
we're on our way. We're taking about 6 weeks to make the journey north for our next job, which is going to be almost 7 months, and we are headed to
Michigan.
Yeah, it's my home state.
It is Gina's home state, and it's also a part of Michigan we've been to before. Well, I've been to before. I know Gina's been there several times, but I absolutely fell in love with it. And we're going to be in the northern part of Michigan.
Northern part of the lower peninsula, so.
But not you know, too far from Mackinac and Charlevoix and
Traverse City,
Sleeping Bear Sand Dunes. So we are super excited about being there.
We're going to have so much content that we can share with you guys. I'm just buzzing over it. So yeah, I'm excited. So we're taking our time because we're still, you know, spring, and anything can happen on the journey. So we've spent quite a while in the state of Alabama. Some of you may or may not know. Another part of this journey is we're on the hunt for our place to settle, and Alabama is in the running, guys.
Oh yeah.
We are loving northern Alabama. We've spent almost a month in Alabama now. Love, love, love it. Love the people. The northern part of the state is very much like the Carolinas, Virginia, so the terrain is totally us.
It is. Yeah. Well, Gina, we didn't even realise, because we kept saying, wow, this looks very much like Virginia, and Gina was looking on the map and we were both incredibly surprised to find out it is actually part of the Appalachians here.
I didn't know that it went beyond Georgia.
And for me, it's only March, but it's not as buggy as Florida. It's certainly not as hot as Florida, and you know, the temperatures.
Wait a minute, should we be sharing all this?
I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, really, do we want everybody flocking to
probably
Alabama?
not. Probably not. Anyway, enough of our waffle. We have today what we think is quite an interesting little video. On our journey up to Michigan and hanging around in Alabama, mainly because of the weather, that we can't go too far north, as Gina said, we happened to drive through a place called Muscle Shoals, and that just nagged at me, and I thought, where have I heard that before? Where have I heard that name? And then I realised it's quoted in a line from Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I thought, well, what's that all about? Because probably like a lot of people, you hear a lyric and you just dismiss it, not really knowing, thinking, well, that didn't really make sense. But anyway, this is a good song, so that's that. So I did a little bit of research, and there's actually a lot of history to do with music behind Muscle Shoals. And today we are actually going to do a studio tour of the Fame Studios, and we will tell you more about that in this video. So it's exciting as far as we're concerned. Well, it is me, because I'm a music buff and I just love all this.
He's a music nerd.
Yeah, I am a music nerd.
I mean, we both like our music, but I don't go quite to the level that Paul does. But yeah, it was really interesting when he told me the history behind it. So, you know, we thought, well, let's just have a little tour.
Well, it's not only the history behind Muscle Shoals, there's a little bit of history about Lynyrd Skynyrd as well. And some of you may already know this, I didn't, but anyway, stay tuned and we will reveal all.
Okay.
Now, Muscle Shoals has got the Swampers, and they've been known to pick a song or two. Yes, they do. Lord, they get me off so much. They pick me up when I'm feeling blue. Now how about you? Sweet Home Alabama, where the skies are so blue, and so it goes on. Yes, that was the fourth and final verse of Sweet Home Alabama by the American Southern rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd. As the story goes, the song was written in response to Neil Young's 1970 song Southern Man, which Lynyrd Skynyrd felt blamed the entire South for the American slavery. The band felt the song Southern Man was inflammatory and unfair to the entire region. So Lynyrd Skynyrd wrote Sweet Home Alabama in response to that Neil Young song. Each verse attempts to demonstrate that the entire South were not indeed racist. The verse about Muscle Shoals champions the Swampers, a famous group of studio musicians recruited by the Fame Studios, which is where I am right now. Listened to more times than I care to remember and never realised what it meant. So when we drove through Muscle Shoals here in Alabama on our way to Michigan, I knew I had heard these words somewhere before. And here we are, just about to do a tour of the famous Fame Studios that were responsible for hundreds of soul and R&B records throughout the 60s and 70s and launched the career of many household names in music. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to film inside the studios, but we are allowed to take pictures. So I will just narrate over some of these photographs. The studios originally started out in Florence, Alabama, and were known as the Florence, Alabama Music Enterprises. In 1960, they moved to Muscle Shoals and decided to change the name to Fame. which is the acronym of Florence, Alabama Music Enterprises. The famous sign above the Fame Studios reads, "Through these doors walk the finest musicians, songwriters, artists and producers in the world." And that is as true then as it is now. Many artists still come to Fame Studios to record and use the period studios, microphones, amplifiers and instruments, and even the sound insulation and acoustics from the 1960s, 70s and 80s that have their own unique sound that just cannot be replicated by modern digital equipment. Many current artists, from Steven Tyler of Aerosmith to Demi Lovato, Alison Krauss, the Revivalists, again just to mention a few names, the list goes on, and they all still make the journey to Muscle Shoals to record here. Back in the early days, as I have already mentioned, Fame Studios had its own session musicians called the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section. They were the most prominent studio house band from the 1960s through to the 1980s and have been associated with more than 500 recordings, including 75 gold and platinum hits. They were masters at creating a southern combination of R&B, soul and country music known as the Muscle Shoals sound to back up black artists who were often in disbelief to find out that the studio musicians were indeed white. Fame Studios and Muscle Shoals sound welcomed a who's who of music royalty. It's fair to say that the majority of R&B and soul music from the 60s and the 70s, the chances are it was recorded here at Fame Studios. It's where Aretha Franklin found her sound. It's where Wilson Pickett recorded Mustang Sally. It has been the recording home of artists such as the Allman Brothers, Etta James, Little Richard, Clarence Carter, Percy Sledge, Bill Haley and the Comets, Jerry Lee Lewis, Otis Redding, Billy Ocean, Tom Jones, Liza Minnelli, The Drifters. Again, the list just goes on and on and on. Fame Studios was a creative bastion that made a stand for equality by uniting African American and Caucasian musicians together. The original session musicians became so well known that they left Fame Studios to pursue independent careers in Nashville. They were replaced by other musicians that were initially called the Second Fame Gang, but later became known by their nickname, the Swampers. But in 1969, the Swampers parted way with Fame Studios and created their own competing business called Muscle Shoals Sound Studios. Wow, okay, so here I am at the Muscle Shoals Music Studios. What a rabbit hole I've gone down, and yeah, as a music nerd, this is just awesome to me. Again, unfortunately, I couldn't do a tour here as the studios were being used today. But the Swampers and their new studios went on to record hits with many artists. Hits like Brown Sugar and Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones were recorded here. Paul Simon's Love Me Like a Rock, Bob Seger's Old Time Rock and Roll and Main Street, Rod Stewart's The First Cut is the Deepest, and many other artists such as Otis Redding, Bob Dylan, the Osmonds, and of course Lynyrd Skynyrd. And as I've said before, the list just goes on and on and on. It is said that the Swampers' signature sound provided the roots for what was to become known as the Southern Rock sound. So, there you have it. Something a little bit different today for all you music nerds out there like me. This has been a fabulous stopover for me. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.